Welcome to Screen Talk with yours truly, Nomfanelo. So, Luca Guadagnino, he has directed films such as Challengers and his recent one, After the Hunt, which just came out on Prime Video, and that one has not been great reception wise. So, Luca Guadagnino recently did a panel at Voices 2025 for Business of Fashion. I'm not too familiar with that one, but it seems like it's some sort of convention, but for fashion, it seems like, where they invite all sorts of people related to fashion to, I guess, talk about it from the looks of it. I wanted to find the full panel, but on the website for Business of Fashion, it's under paywall, like most of their stuff on their website. So the clip that I'm gonna share with you on Instagram will have to do.
I'm going to create enemies here, tend to think in terms of the garment. Designers of fashion think in terms of the body who wears them. And that is a huge difference for me. And I think that is what makes costume design from people like Jonathan, or in my collaborations with Raf or Giulia Piersanti. It's that you eventually can find the character and the person, not just the character. And it's about dynamism in the way they look. And if you think of Jonathan did Challengers. The thing he said to me first was like, America is about display of capitalism in everything they do. And particularly the world of tennis is that in America. So he did something that nobody expected. People were expecting the great bravura of Jonathan with shape and form. And in fact, he was very into the characters and into the world and the economics of the world.
When I first saw this, I was kind of puzzled. I'm kind of like, what is he talking about? And it just seems so random here that he's essentially knocking down costume designers, where he's describing it where they're all about the garment, while fashion designers are about the body. But don't those kind of embody what both of those positions do? So I didn't get what he was trying to say here. I got the sense just watching this clip multiple times that he's saying that fashion designers are more they're more of costume designers than actual costume designers, if that makes sense. I don't know if he's basing this on his collaboration with Jonathan Anderson. So if you're not aware, Jonathan Anderson, he is a fashion designer. He's from Northern Ireland. He's currently the creative director at Dior. He was previously creative director at Loewe, and he has worked with Luca Guadagnino, I guess, multiple times. The first time was Challengers, and it seems like he, with Guadagnino, it wants to work with Jonathan Anderson based on the way that he is describing him in this clip. So, back to the comments here. Like, what was Guadagnino thinking when he said this? It like I don't get why he's knocking down costume designers, because I'm sure like costume designers can do same things that fashion designer does, vice versa. But I think like the main difference is that with costume designers, they focus more on the storytelling, and also too depending on the filmmaker they're working with in terms of the vision and all that stuff. While like with fashion designers, I guess like what they're creating clothes for the everyday world. I suppose you say yes with the runway, but mainly for the everyday world. I suppose because to sell the clothes and all that stuff. It's just ridiculous what Guanito is saying here, and it's also too kind of disrespectful too, with his comments knocking down on costume designers. I want to share some comments here. So yeah, there some costume designers they've made their comments aware in this post. Jenny Bevans commented, absolutely right, Kate. I use the difference between costume design and fashion design in my talks to students. One is storytelling for a character, and the other is all about clothes. I get she's responding to Kate Hawley. She's also a costume designer. She says, "Sir, you're entitled to your opinion, but the obvious contradiction in your statement makes it apparent you have no understanding of the art of costume design." And then Jenny Bevan says, "I can only add, I am thankful he will never want to work with me." Uh, let's see. Ariane Phillips, another costume designer, says, "Couldn't disagree more. Sweeping generalizations such as this are never respectful when you are speaking to artistic collaboration. Clearly, this is Luca's experience. Perhaps it is direction and approach. Every costume designer, like every director, has their own perspective, process, and interpretation. Extremely offensive to a whole craft that Luca clearly does not respect. Very disappointing." I mean, yeah, like she's absolutely correct on this. Because with any designer, any creative, they have like their own ways of working. There's going to be some people where they lean towards like the technical side, while there's others that would lean more towards the creative side, and then there's others that can do both equally. So yeah, again, it's so random with Luca like saying this. I don't know if he've always had this sentiment or if this was new. But either way, it's a weird thing to say. And I won't be surprised that costume designers are not going to work with him based on this. And who knows, maybe other stuff behind the scenes, which I'll get into with one of the comments that I saw on this post. It's more than just like being an outfit. There's a lot of thought when it comes to costume design because it's all about the storytelling. It's about representing the characters during a certain point in the project and all that stuff. So yeah, again, Luca Guadagnini, like, what was he thinking saying all that stuff? So, to me at Crafty, he posted this post on Substack where he commented on Luca Guadagnino's comments. So I want to scroll down here. So yeah, as like Guadagnino pointed out at the beginning of the clip, he says, "Oh, I'm going to create enemies." I think that's the only correct thing he said in that clip. So back to scrolling down here. So he mentions here in the post that there have been designers, fashion designers in the past that have done costume design. So he mentions here Givenchy's work with Audrey Hepburn and Yves Saint Laurent's clothes for Catherine Deneuve in Belle du Jour. It says are stunning, iconic, instantly recognizable, but they're hardly better storytellers than, say, the suit and turban that Patricia Neal wears in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Armani suits for American Gigolo blew up the nature of menswear while catapulting Richard Gere to the A-list. But those suits stand side by side with Joseph G. Ulysses' costume for Robert Redford in 3 Days of the Condor in terms of style and substance and character exposition. It says there's also a much larger issue here. Guadagnino's assertion that costume designers think only in terms of garment and not the body wearing it. For me, his blithe comments send a message that he considers fashion designers to be artists and costume designers as seamstresses, jamming their precious creations on actors and shoving them out onto set like Mama Rose pushing Gypsy Rose Lee into their first striptease. It's so deranged, I'd laugh if I weren't so infuriated. To take one obvious example of dressing the character and the body, and for record, I cannot believe that I actually have to do this. What the hell did Adrian do with Joan Crawford's broad shoulders except exaggerate them into stylishness? Her MGM years saw her play plucky young strivers, and those soldiers helped her get it. Edith Head turned Barbara Stanwyck into a clothes horse in The Lady Eve by designing specifically for her overlong torso, fashioning clothes of high waistlines and plenty of exposed midriff. I am a gay man who majored in film history. I could go on. Uh, or if for the body meant for the character as detailed in the script, that's even more absurd. Theodora Van Runkel's costumes for Bonnie and Clyde, Jenny Bevan's costumes for Cruella, and Ross' entire filmography. That's just off the top of my head when I think about movie costumes that visually define a character in seconds, both for the audience and for the actors, not to mention the incredible, impeccable work done on TV series year after year by artists at the top of the game. And then he mentioned what the costume designers mentioned here. Uh, oh, he says his personal favorite comment. That's why among all his films, the only costume that stood out was Elio's peach. That's funny. And also to apparently, I guess, while he because he did do a post on Instagram, and I guess he was asking I guess costume designers to DM to send him a message to share their thoughts on this. So Leonie Hattar DM'd him, said, I am a costume designer, and yes, I'm raging about this. I have 20 years experience in the industry, and it's been tough, mainly because a lot of the time I have to fight to have my role validated and my skills and hard work respected. The ignorance of this statement astounded me. Costume designing and storytelling is integral to an actor's performance. It is multifaceted. All I can say is that he better be good to Mr. Anderson, because I can't think of a single costume designer I know who would ever set foot on one of his sets after this statement. Yeah. Yeah, because that's most likely going to happen. So I'll leave this link for the post if you guys want to read it on your own. So I want to go back to the Instagram post. So the top post I saw here. So Bonjour Madge. Says here there was a costume designer and a pretty great costume team on Challengers that did a large portion of the work and delivered excellent supporting characters and period crowd design, and have been left off of the press and conversation, including having to fight to be included on the award nomination at the CDG. I'm assuming that's Costume Design Guild, because I believe yes, they're a union, and they do have their own award show. I believe it's called the Costume Design Guild Awards, if I'm not mistaken. We worked in tandem with JW. So JW is Jonathan Anderson, as I mentioned. With the JW Anderson is his fashion label. So JW is referring to him, if I'm not mistaken. To present a cohesive vision to all the characters and attention to how they move throughout this world, maintaining accuracy in the period and the worlds explored in the film. By the way, I picked those Chanel espadrilles, and there was only one pair in the film and seemed perfect for the moment. So I found, yeah, this is an interesting comment that apparently what he, I'm assuming Guanito did not want others to be recognized for that movie, which is messed up. But yeah, many people I see in response are praising the person that wrote the comment. Um, yeah. Okay, so gonna go to Reddit here. So this is under the FOMO, if I'm saying that right, under their subreddit here where they talk about this. And I wanted to scroll down a specific comment here. So this person said, red necked crake. This is what they wrote. He works with J.W. Anderson, so again, Jonathan Anderson, the biggest designer, most notably for Challengers. And I think it's gotten into his head that somehow there is some kind of difference. He just likes being friends with celebs like Anderson. The dude is also gay like Lucas, so I'm sure that helps to connect with someone who you can't push around on set and who has similar personal background. If anything, it's the other way around. Designers of fashion really don't care about a body. That's why all the models are so stick thin and tall. The models are walking hangers, a blank canvas. Clothing always comes first for designers of fashion. You can't push a boundary of acceptable if you get too constrained with realities of the body. Designers like Yoji Yamamoto and Rei Kawakubo, apologies if I mispronounce those names, got famous for obscuring the body in the 80s. If you want more modern example, Demna at Balenciaga and his enormous comical proportions explicitly overrode people's body shape. Then you have the opposite, Heidi Slimane, focused on his body ideal, skeletally skinny and tall, which barely exists IRL, to force his vision of the body onto the world. All these examples are to show that the body has always been an enemy for designers and not something to work with. As an Italian, I don't know how Guadagnino doesn't know that, lol. Costume designers might be too constrained by the setting, that's true, but at the end of the day, they work with the actors and what works with their body, which is a lot closer than any designer of fashion would. Most actors, even famous ones, aren't built like models, so he's just incorrect and annoying while at it to boot. We get it, you like being around other famous people and you hate regular peons. I understand that it might be annoying to see anything from this power dynamics POV, but it's truly him punching down that makes him talk this shit. No other way around. If it was someone powerful like a producer or someone of bigger stature like a scriptwriter, he wouldn't be saying half this shit, which makes it so cowardly. Costume designers, like most of the crew, is chronically under-recognized and underpaid part of stuff. I mean, yeah, they have a point right there. And then mention another. Then someone said in response, not to mention that some of the best classic costumes committed to screen came from Audrey Hepburn's friendship with Givenchy. Yes, he eventually started designing for her, but the first time she wore his clothes, it was straight from the atelier, and she looked gorgeous on screen in them. So yeah, there is that. So I mean, bottom line, with Guadagnino, his comments are foul. They're disrespectful, and I don't see, unless if let's say he were to come out to apologize or to clarify his comments, I don't see costume designers working with him anytime, at least notable costume designers. But yeah, what he said is wrong essentially. And I do wonder too with Jonathan Anderson if he is going to comment on this. So as I'm recording it on Saturday night. I do see this story is picking up because I saw this on Twitter, and apparently this was mentioned days ago. So yeah, I won't be surprised if this were to gain traction, probably by Monday, Tuesday. But we'll see. We shall see. So I want to know all your comments on this. So do you disagree with what Luca Guadagnino says here, or do you agree with him? Let me know in the comment section. Also, too, do you have any favorite fashion designers that did costume designs, or vice versa? I would love to know that in the comment section. So, if you want to support me, you can visit buymeacoffee.com/numphymalloy, where you could donate and also to look at exclusive posts there. Also, too, if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to comment on the community tab I have here on YouTube. So, as long as the comments are under guidelines, you should be fine. And if you want to follow me, my links for social media are in the description. So I want to say thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to catch you on the next one.